I didn't even get a coffee.
You just had a coffee.
No, I didn't.
You just made a coffee.
I did not make it. It's sitting in there.
Oh!
I didn't even make it.
Here.
Huh?
Hold that.
No, it's okay.
You have to make the coffee.
I'll do it later.
What? Hello. Dude, just draw. Beautiful works, man.
What now?
He said just draw.
Who, me?
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
weird.
I think they're talking about you, not me.
Oh.
Oh, someone said make the coffee.
Make the coffee.
The coffee will go cold. No, more people are saying to make the coffee.
Oh.
I'll go make the coffee here.
Well, I can't talk though when you're gone.
Well,
you're
all they're doing is waving at you and sending you hearts.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll quietly draw until Vicky comes back with coffee. And thank you for making coffee. So, I'm actually working, playing around with the ideas for there's a thing called Everyday Original, if you're not familiar with it, where once a month on the 23rd, I put up a small original for, a price that is determined later. And that's what I'm playing with. So I haven't figured out what it is yet. Right now it's kind of abstract. Hello. Lots of people waving. Vicky, when she comes back, if there's any talk questions, she'll kind of feed me the questions so I can talk. But we went and saw Captain Marvel tonight. That's kind of why we started late, which I enjoyed quite a bit.
I'm halfway there!
You're halfway there? She's halfway there. With the coffee. So. And then we came home and started watching in-game trailers for, the Avengers. But I figured I had to do something live stream tonight. My friend Daryl is always disappointed in me if I don't do it. So I don't even know if he's on here right now, but so hopefully I'm staying in the one spot so you can see it. If you can hear that light pawing at the door, our little dog's outside. He's being house trained, so he has to be outside, every 45 minutes to an hour. He's very insistent on knocking on the door to get back in. Thanks. Somebody said so cool. I appreciate it. Thanks for showing up. And this is the graphite wash that I play with a lot. It starts off pretty gray, once I get it to a point and I've polished it and it doesn't really have much graphite left on the surface. And then I'll take kneaded erasers is one of the first things I pick up and start picking out at details and then redefining them and then seeing what comes out. Sometimes I'll play with it like this for a while and then I'll take photographs of it with my phone and look at it like, I guess you could say it's a different way of squinting at it, just looking at it zoomed in and zoomed out. And sometimes you look at it zoomed out and you see shapes start popping out of it that aren't like in your face when you're like sitting in front of it, like I am right now. Bits and pieces of things start showing up, pretty fast, but I have no idea what it there are times when I have a definite idea and when I start, it's sort of a fight to get to that idea because the board itself always has, a different idea of what it's going to end up doing because of the nature of the chaos in the process. So.
Ha! I'm back.
Oh, the graphite wash is kind of a combination of Cretacolor and General's graphite powder. But it's a graphite powder that you can easily, you can buy it pretty much. Most art supply places have graphite powder. Thank you for the coffee.
See the coffee. Nice.
Oh, it has whipped cream on it too.
I know, I made it special for you.
It's very good.
Oh, Fiosky said I was the best because I made you coffee.
Totally the best. Yeah.
So we also went out to see Captain Marvel tonight.
I said that. I told him, you know, that's why we were a little bit late.
I know, it's awesome.
We almost didn't do the live feed because we were like, I don't know if I could, you know. But then I thought, you know, Vicky was in the other room, and I thought, well, I'm going to be working on this anyway, and I should turn my thing over so it tracks the time on it.
Good. Yes.
I got.
We also didn't turn on the other thingy, did we?
What other thing?
No.
Oh, the video? No.
No.
I got.
Good partners bring coffee. Oh!
It didn't fall. It didn't fall.
It didn't fall, but it spilled on your meat cleaver. Would you say the ratio of planned pieces to chaos results? What would you say the ratio to planned pieces to chaos results is? Here, you need a napkin? Or
no, I'll get it.
Here.
Sorry.
Oh, wait. We've got a mess.
Planned
pieces to chaos.
It's probably 70-30. Is that right?
70% chaos?
Yeah. 70%.
Probably.
I'll start off with not knowing what I'm going to go do. 70% of the time. Well, with my own work, anyway. With contract work,
It's very planned.
it's very much different, you know.
I made myself a coffee, too.
That's cool.
Why the cleaver? Because it's cool.
I actually, I like the feel of it, and my door leads right straight to the outside, and I'm up all night, and sometimes I have to walk around in the back, and there are things.
Little tiny thing. That doesn't lend credence to why you have to have a... Showing the tiny puppy doesn't lend credence to why you have to have a cleaver.
Actually, I originally got it as a piece of reference for a piece I'm working on.
All right, so we're not going to have the horizontal feed.
Yeah, no, this isn't. Yeah, this won't show up on that because I didn't set that up because it was last minute.
That's okay.
But that's okay because this is so small. You'd have to be really in my face to be able to see it.
On top of it. Someone asked that the other day.
Yeah, because the 1920 at this level, you can read, but something like this where I'm mostly tickling it.
Yes.
It's harder. So
can't wait to see what you're pulling out of this drawing with spilled coffee to us.
Oh well, yeah. That's an antique meat cleaver I got off of
Rustic Farmhouse Meat Serial Killer.
Yeah.
Or artist.
I also have some sickles, hand sickles.
Yeah, but that woman gave me those sickles.
Yeah.
The woman down the road.
I know.
These were from
she didn't give you sickles. She was getting rid of the evidence.
She wasn't. No.
Yeah, now it's in your hands.
No, I wasn't there then.
So, this is ampersand clay-board, which has an interesting surface to draw on. It's sort of forgiving in some ways, and then it fights you in a lot of other ways because it's like kind of that. I guess it's called Yupo paper that it really bites the pencil if you just draw on it straight.
Oh, grab his.
But the thing about it is that to me, at least if you use the abrasive erasers like this and these, you can actually you can be pretty hard on it without worrying about damaging the surface too much. That being said, I'm never really bearing down, like a diamond pick or anything. But I will scratch into it and use this almost as a graphite scratch board as well for highlights and really tight details.
In your oil paintings, do you draw in graphite before painting over them?
Very often I do that, yes. In fact, there's some stuff coming up where I will be doing that. Maybe I'll be able to record it. That would be the slideshow thing would be a good thing to record.
Oh yeah.
I have an illustration to do for Sideshow for their collectible print market.
Do you practice? Betty is asking. Do you practice the get out of your own way approach when doing your own work?
Yes. Yeah. In fact, that's where I kind of learned that it was important. It was in my own work because I tend to overthink a lot. And to have I'll have like some sort of idea about what I want from something, and then I'll realize the idea I had about what I wanted isn't really usually as compelling as what happens in the midst of creating it that changes everything. The getting out of my own way or getting out of the way of what the piece wants to be in a lot of ways. And in some ways, I think part of it is me realizing that it's going to be, there's going to be more to it than I thought at first. And it almost happens that way with almost every piece that I start. It ends up taking a turn at some point and becoming more than I initially conceived of it. I don't want to say better because it's kind of in the eye of the beholder, but it becomes a different thing that is more meaningful in a way to me. So, and I think on a technical level, sometimes if I just let myself follow my nose, I get to certain techniques and things in a piece that I don't necessarily think about or try to manufacture when I'm thinking it. I don't know how to say it other than I've done things in work before that have worked in the context of the piece that I didn't know how to do before I started, and I didn't remember how to do after I finished.
Yes.
Yeah.
Please explain that technique. Oh.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's the most. I know it's weird, but if there's like people have asked me before about if there's a kind of magic to all this, it has in part come through that aspect of it, where if I just let myself stop demanding and start listening, then it seems like everything works out better. And actually, that's sort of a thing that I bring with me into other things as well. It happens that way in my relationship world as well too. If you listen more than you demand, I don't know if that makes sense or not, but listen to what you need.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So
at least,
thanks for doing the videos.
Oh yeah. I mean, nobody's asking me for relationship advice, but that, no. I mean, I'm just saying,
Hey, we've been together 30-some years.
Yep, we have.
Must be doing something right. I haven't driven you crazy yet.
Never.
Well, I wouldn't say never.
Well,
hey.
I guess, yeah, you're not supposed to say that.
Renee French says, hey.
Renee! She does some beautiful work. If you've never seen Renee French's work, look it up. It's beautifully, the characters are beautifully compelling, and they're, they all live in their own world, which is Renee's world, I guess.
Yes.
This is going to be an embarrassing question to have answered, but have we met before in real life, Renee French?
Renee French?
Yeah.
No, I don't think we have met Renee French. Ooh, she said she's blushing.
Oh, well, it's all true.
It is. So. How does it feel to talk to folks and do art at the same time?
Unusual, because most of the time, I mean, like, especially if I'm super intense on getting something done, I won't even listen to music,
I guess your studio has been very silent these last couple of weeks.
Well, I've been working on some NDA stuff, and it's been pretty tight. I mean, I've literally, done a lot of, iteration after iteration of. It's been very fun. I'll put it that. I will say that, but it's also one of those things where I have to really, think about what they need for what they've asked me for. And not about what I want to do. Like, there are things that I've done, I'm like, I want to go this way with this. And I was like, that would be great if it were my own piece. But this is not for me. This is for someone else, and this is what they need. And what they need is quite a bit different than what I want to do. And, it's a contract when you get into it that says that I agree to listen to what you need, and to try to find that for you, or with you in a lot of ways. Because a lot of times contract work does feel like a collaboration.
Is it more meaningful to find a medium that works for your vision, or a medium that pulls out something completely unexpected and opens you up to something else?
I think the important part of that is being open to both of those things. Always have that exploration going on, or at least be open to exploring, and also find a medium that you can get into and find some sense of expression in that seems to want to work with you, or you want, that seems to strike your nature. When I say wants to work with you, you could just as easily say something that suits your nature. That's one of the reasons why when people ask me, how do you do this? I say, well, how I do it is like this. I do this certain thing. This is how I do it. It's not, that this is the right way to do it. It's just the way that it's my nature to do it this way. And I will, on occasion, and Vicki can testify to this, I will do things that are against my nature just to see a different result. We called it at one point after the movie Hunt for Red October. There was a phrase called Crazy Ivan. When you make a right turn, in order to change direction and confuse whoever's following you, I guess you could say.
She's not good for keeping followers.
Actually, it isn't, but it is in a way, because people start to, they kind of like to follow you on some of those,
yes,
those explorations,
Renee says, haha, I'm not sure if we've met. Do you sharpen your own pencils, or do you have a heavy-duty sharpener?
I use...
Yeah, that's a very loaded question.
Yeah, I have a lot of pencil sharpeners. Pretty much I've tried
He
most
sharpens
things,
all of his own pencils.
but I do sharpen my own. I have when you mean sharpen your own, I also have done the blade, where you can get a long, super tapered point. But for standard, like going, just working on a day-to-day basis, I'll use the Kum, K-U-M. Long point sharpeners, but then I have like this Carl Angel 5 that they're all metal, and I go inside them and I file out the lead stop that's in there, which you probably can't see, but there's a little thing there that will stop the lead, and you file that out and it'll give you an even longer point. So it's you can do it with a hand file or with a Dremel if you have, but one way or the other, and I don't, like the majority, 80% of the work that I'm in a graphite piece for my work doesn't demand a razor point or a needle point, because when you're working like I do, I guess I got this habit when I was doing drafting a long time ago, is that I constantly spin the pencil in my hands like this, because that's how you do. You turn a pencil and to make a drafting line even.
She said, so not electric, hardcore, bro.
Yeah, yeah. There was a time where I had electric sharpeners and I used them all the time. What I found with most of them is that they'll have a sweet period when they make really sharp points.
The points you like.
And then that sweet period, as the pencil sharpener gets older, will start to go away, or it'll change, or and it's just one of those things where electric pencil sharpeners it's harder, or it's less feasible to spend $30 or $40 on an electric one than
$6 for them.
Yeah. The metal hand crank one. These have lasted, like the last one I bought lasted for like 4 years before it started.
Do we still have the one that you had before you met me?
The sharpener?
Yeah, the one hand crank one that you love.
Yeah,
the blue one.
That's here. This one. That's for lead points, though.
Oh, the lead points.
This is apparently, and I went online and found. I was looking to replace it, and these are apparently pretty rare. I bought it like new in the store when they came out, but now they're like pretty rare to find and expensive to buy.
What are they?
They're Staedtler, but it's this particular model and brand, which I've covered up with tape. But I did find people selling them on like eBay that were selling them relatively cheap, like close to what they were originally priced at. And I don't know if it's because they really aren't that expensive, or if they are and they just didn't know it. But lead pointers are good if you use mechanical pencils, because it's kind of the best of two worlds, because you can get super needle points with those.
Colin Shields is asking if you ever use mechanicals.
Oh yeah.
And Renee said she went to mechanicals after doing her hand in and waking her husband up with the electric at night.
Those mechanical pencils, the small ones like these, that have this is a .30, I believe. Yeah, this is .3 lead. I actually take those and use I don't know if you've ever seen this or not. I use a Geddes sharpener, and you can actually point the lead. If you spin it, because this has an exterior thing. Now, if you look at that,
you got to put it against the wall.
It has a sharper point on it than it did. It actually has almost
can you see it?
Yeah, if you can see it, it's pretty hard to see, but it'll make it almost like an acupuncture needle.
Yes, because you stabbed me accidentally with this.
You can get these from pencilthings.com, and it has a sharpener band on the outside, so when you turn it in, it's just you got to use a gentle hand and spin, gently, and you can hear it grind in there a little bit. But Stephanie Law started using these after I showed her.
Yes.
See, it's super fine point. If you need such a thing.
The
thing
exactly.
is, most people don't ever find a need.
I also am, as I look over at your pencils over there.
Yeah.
I tend to look. See, he can only actually use one pencil at a time.
But I do use one of those. I'll use when I get tired of sharpening and I just need this size of a lid for most of a piece. When I'm doing a paper piece and I'm doing a lot of that reticulation stuff like this, You don't have to, you don't have to sharpen that much if you're using these things, right? That's the benefit of using these mechanical sharpeners, is that, you don't have to, continuously. Yeah, because, and even at this, I still turn and get a sharp edge. As long as you are sensitive to that, you can always find an edge that's just as sharp as a point, for a line.
Renee said she found a 0.2 millimeter in Tokyo.
Oh, yeah.
Realized it was a mental illness. And look, Alan has your mental illness too.
Yeah, 0.2 millimeter pentel.
Yes, so. You are both crazy.
And guess what? I can sharpen this. I can sharpen this in the GEDs. It's very hard to do, though. It breaks like crazy because the leads are so thin.
I think you just like that. You just are crazy.
Yeah.
Every time I drive by someone and I think, why do the people have 4 cars? I'll just remember your pencils over there.
Well, at least they're not as expensive as a car.
That is true. I am thankful for that.
I mean, there's Faber-Castell makes some pretty expensive. They have a pencil extender that's like $200, but I don't own one of those.
No.
Because it makes the pencil longer.
$6, $200 pencil. That's
That's why I use these like Alvin, the Alvin
love
pencil
them because they're really light, though.
Well, they're metal, and you can crank down on this and turn it, and then when you sharpen it, the pencil won't spin in the holder. Yeah. So it keeps
and of course the handy dandy thing, right, for travel.
Yep, you can take it apart, right, and you flip the pencil around and just put it inside.
So you don't jab your wife in the thigh accidentally.
Yeah, which has happened, and then you can just throw that in your pocket and go and keep the lead point. Dog's beating on the door.
Yeah, a little bit.
But. So it's really easy to see like almost bone and articulate, stuff like that when you look at anything that has a lot of chaos in it. The challenge sometimes is to not just see bone all the time, because it really lends itself to that very well. Like this could easily be rib cages and things in here.
Betty asked, do you look at or absorb visuals while you're not drawing trees, muscles, rocks, art?
Yeah, I definitely do.
Right?
I definitely do all the time. In fact, I buy things just to have laying around the studio that I'll look at, that don't necessarily jump straight into my work, but parts of it will show up at different points. Like I have these pieces of they call it's frog leather. Basically, somebody has tanned and cured a frog hide, and they're these beautiful pebble finishes that have a certain kind of a pattern, and that pattern made it into that the piece I was working on last week.
Oh yeah, and how about that? Where did you put all the bugs?
They were in the container over there. Oh. I actually had to bag up some of my bugs. People bring me bugs now. Like I have an orb spider that's like this big, and
dead bugs.
I also found some. I found a mummified lizard, which was kind of beautiful. So,
how is that piece of wood acting as the handiest, as the handrest?
This.
So this is a board.
This is a regular desk, right? And then I have a frame on the outside edge. And then I have this piece of wood laid over the top that has a ridge up there to keep it from sliding down.
Yes. It's like a maul stick, but it's a board because it's more comfortable for his hand.
I decided at one point that if I have to use a maul stick when I paint, in order to get used to that, because it is kind of one of those things you have to get used to, I would just start using it when I draw too, because it's just as beneficial to keep your hand off your drawing sometimes as it is to keep your hand off paint.
So this is your desk, and it has this wood that's just clamped on.
Yeah, it's just wood that's clamped. I actually used C-clamps because I can change it up and change the configuration if I want.
Or make it deeper if you need to.
I just like C-clamps, obviously. I have like 10 and like all over my desk.
More C-clamps at the top.
Yeah.
You can't see the C-clamps.
There's a row of C-clamps behind my easel over there.
And then it's got a hook up there.
This is, I can put it around this wire, and just in case this thing pops off, it won't slide down, but I have that ridge there too. So.
And it's just a 1x4 or something?
Not even, it's like a 1/2 inch wide.
Half by 4?
And about 4, yeah.
And you covered in tape?
I've got like packing tape on the top so that I don't get splinters from running my hand up and down it, because eventually the wood would get dry and it would probably splinter, but this keeps it from doing that.
C-clamps.
I have a natural obsession with C-clamps.
C-clamps, and that pencil is a Tombow Mono 100 6B.
Yep.
He likes the Tombow Mono 100s.
They're very, they have a very dark binder in the graphite, so they can come out darker than most other leads.
Serge says, I haven't drawn in over 8 years, and the more work I see from you inspires me to start up again.
Oh,
Your
well,
work is amazing.
Thank you. I hope you do draw. I mean, you don't have to start big. Just grab something and do the thing when you're on the phone where you doodle on the pad of paper by your desk or wherever you're at. Just start however you start. If it takes hold, that's cool. But if you just do it a little bit at a time and just for fun, that's cool too. I have to be careful when I'm actually doing contract work, that if I start playing with my own personal work, it'll take hold of me, because it's that mechanism that I've sort of trained myself not to ignore. You have to be able to work when you're not inspired, because that's the business ethic of it. But you also should never ignore being inspired when you are inspired. You don't have to be inspired to work, but you should definitely work when you are. And so a lot of times I'll have to be careful when if I start a piece of my own in the middle of a contract, because I'll want to stop everything and pick it up and start doing it. And so I basically just will, when I'm doing contract work, I'll just focus on that and try even not to even think about my own work when I'm doing that.
It's just
but that being said, if I do have an idea, and it always happens in the middle of that sort of thing, I will pause now and I'll sketch it out, and then I'll have to
instead of just at least have
so at least I get it to a point where I can remember what it was, and then I'll I'll have to force myself away from it so I can continue to do the contract work, because I do enjoy both of them. I don't think I would do contract work unless I had to, if I didn't enjoy it. You know what I mean? I do enjoy it, so I think that's, it's important that you find the part of the work that you do that you like to do, that makes it happy or fun for you.
Oh, absolutely.
But that being said, I've also taken jobs before that I've done that I didn't really enjoy doing. There's been concept work before where we've been chasing something that nobody knew what we were looking for, and that's a hard one. Which is, I mentioned this in an article recently, that it's both fun and very, very difficult, because you can do anything you want, but you don't have any idea if what you're doing is going to even come close, especially if who you're working with. They sometimes will give you the phrase, I'll know it when I see it, and that's sort of like, ooh, that's a double-edged sword. That means you can try anything, but
Do you get sick or down if you don't have a chance to draw?
I will definitely get cranky, which is I think if I couldn't draw for a long time, it would definitely make me depressed. I sort of integrated drawing into my. This is another thing I just recently I had to think about this for that article, and for me, I've integrated drawing into my day, so that it's not really going to work. It's just part of what I do. Like what part of your day that you just assume is part of your day, like eating and getting up and going, walking outside to check the weather, or whatever it is that you do that's natural. To me, getting up and sitting down at my desk, it doesn't feel like going to work to me anymore. It feels like this is what my day is supposed to be. This is what I wake up to do. And that being said, it's probably, it started after we had kids, and I realized that I had to have a work ethic in order to get work done. And the best way to do that is just to fully integrate my work into my daily life. And so that being, I've said that being said like 3 times tonight already. But that being said, I do have we'll schedule things because otherwise I'll just sit in here and play and draw, And if I have things, and if I have things that like goals, that's when I have to have more of a plan about how am I going to do this,
right?
Or when am I going to do this?
Colin is asking, is it wrong to ask what is this?
No, it's not wrong. I don't know that I could give you an answer yet. It's right now. It's It starts off as a bit of an abstract pattern that has shapes in it that I'm looking at and figuring out what I'm going to turn into. And at this point of the drawing, I normally just let myself play with the shapes and let them go wherever they're going to go, because by the end of it, I'll know what it is, and some of the shapes will stay and some of them will leave.
Yeah, some of them will just erase.
Yeah.
This is probably going to be your everyday original next Saturday.
Yeah, that's Everyday Original, if you haven't heard of it, is a thing where they'll put up a small original for sale. They do it every day, obviously. The name of the concept is in the title. But it's different people almost every day if you go there. And mine's usually on the 23rd of every month.
Yeah.
And I put up generally work that can only go up to a certain price point. And that way people can... depending on what you consider affordable or not, can afford, stuff that normally doesn't get offered at that price.
Everydayoriginal.com.
Yeah.
Yours is on the 23rd, but they have a different artist
They
each
have
day.
they have a different artist every single day. So there's always artwork being put up.
I think Annie Steg's piece is up on auction. So
oh, yeah?
Yes.
Well, that's probably going to do well, I think.
I know.
Annie does some beautiful work. So. The dog's outside barking at something.
Chuffing it with the other dogs barking at it.
So sometimes people ask me if I ever have reference for things. Sometimes I will play with digital, with programs, and I'll make a little bit of reference for myself. Not that.
Yeah.
That is something I made for myself as a kind of a bit of reference for a feature piece. Sorry, I'm having an avalanche of photos. If I ever incorporate the shapes into a piece, it won't be exactly like that. This is more of just a light map for something that I want to do. Yeah, I'll make something in 3D and throw it in a light and like key shot for lighting, so so I can see how light would hit that form. And then when I draw it, I draw more into it than what's in the
I know. I feel like a lot of your reference is a lot of interpretation.
Yeah,
because this won't be blobby heads and
no. This is just basic. These are just shapes.
Like,
yeah,
these would actually be heads or a couple heads and.
Yeah, there's more to it than that. This is just if you were to squint at the piece and look at the light where it hits.
That's what I mean. Yes. So
I do that sometimes. I don't do it often, but if I'm doing something that has realistic like a look to it, then typically I will have some sort of a reference for that.
Yes.
It's hard to make up reality and to a believable point,
Yes.
Sometimes it happens in this stuff. There'll be an edge or something that'll look three-dimensional, and I'll just go with it, even if it doesn't make sense in some ways for the narrative of the piece.
Now, is any of that graphite coming off?
Not really. Well, a little bit, just a tiny. Look, so this is the clean part of my hand, and if I do this, it just not much happens.
I don't know. Okay.
It's been polished at this point with those white rags that I use. So I get all the graphite off the top so that it really is just what's left ingrained in the board. And then I take that off and I do both a positive and negative and additive and subtractive technique.
Yes. Now our website is AllenWilliamsStudio.com. This will go up under our stories and then on Patreon at patreon.com/AllenWilliams and then on our YouTube channel, which is at AllenWilliams Studio.
It won't be one of those nice horizontal videos, though, because I didn't turn the camera on.
Yeah, we were kind of quickly just came home from the movie, grabbed some food, and jumped in. Actually, I haven't had dinner, but I ate a lot of popcorn.
But you made coffee.
I did make coffee. I made myself coffee. It was decaf, though.
Mine's not decaf.
No, yours is never decaf. What program did you use to create the reference?
This was a ZBrush, just a quick thing in ZBrush that I played with, and then I have the thing where ZBrush will port it over to KeyShot directly. So I bring it into KeyShot and I put a little texture on it and light it.
Nice.
So.
Nice.
It's stuff that I actually learned to do doing concept stuff. And I figured if I can do this concepting for other people, I can do the same thing for myself for things that I have a definite idea for. So within the context of this, though, when I lay it out, like if I do this piece on a board like this, the texture of the board will change the design of the piece quite a bit.
This leads into another person asks, Hawks asks, do you enjoy pieces more with a smooth background or with a background with a lot of texture?
It depends on the piece itself, but lately I've just really been enjoying the texture. I think that it, even if it's just abstraction in the background, if there's movement, it sort of lends movement to the. I tend to draw characters in repose, or introspective, or just basically at rest. But if the background is moving, if there's movement in the texture, then there's movement over the whole piece, even if they are in repose.
So it looks a little more active.
Yeah. Just, I actually like the stuff the way that it is. It's just that it tends to, all of this tends to both visually and mentally, to me, intellectually lead into a narrative at some point, and it'll start becoming more prevalent.
Yeah, because the narrative that I post is also stuff you have written, not other people. Yabog asked, have you ever been surprised by one of your own creations?
Yes, that is a definite yes. I've had. I'll tell you, probably the strangest things that have happened to me when I've been working is that I'll have an image that will start to appear in a piece, and a narrative will happen. And in this narrative, I'll say something, I'll write something down, and then I'll have to go and look it up what it means, because I don't know what it means. And then I find out that it's a thing. Like I've used words in narratives before that I don't remember. I don't recall learning the word, but I mean, it is possible that I heard it and got the contextual meaning from it from just hearing it somewhere at some point. But there are words that I've used in narration of some of these that aren't words that are popular or typically found in
right. Yeah. Have you ever feared that an idea means a lot, that an idea that means a lot to you has already been created?
Oh, well, that's I don't really think about that so much as my need to express it outweighs the fact that somebody else has had the same need to express something in the past. I mean, to be honest, you feel things and other people feel them. Even if someone else has felt the same feeling, doesn't mean yours is less valid or something. What I do try to avoid is doing it exactly like if I find that somebody did it exactly like I did. That you try to avoid that. If I look at because I do look at a lot of art online. And so there's a lot of people that are working in an explorational way. So the fact that it's explorational is not new. The fact that I find things in the chaos, this is not new. It's been being done for a long, long time, actually. Mm-hmm. But it's something that I need to do. So the fact that I need to do it, it's not so much based on whether or not the world perceives me as being novel in my idea, but honest in my expression. Does that make sense?
Yes, that sounds good. Honest in your expression.
Yeah. I do this because I'm compelled on some psychological, spiritual, physical, even sometimes level to do it. Yeah. I have a physical need to sit down and draw. I actually get nervous when I don't. I get antsy and I can get kind of wiggy. Not bitchy is a good word to say, but...
No, you don't get bitchy. That's me. I forgot.
No,
I was projecting.
You don't know. No.
Not when I don't draw.
No.
No. So, someone was asking how you made that texture. There are a bunch of videos of him doing the texture in the background.
Briefly, though, it's with water and a brush.
Water and powdered graphite.
And I basically get a brush like a 1-inch flat, and I scrub and play and push it around hard so that. And the reason I like this the clay board is because you can do that and it doesn't destroy it. I mean, you do that on paper and it'll start tearing and rip up. But the clay board is really tough. Mm-hmm. And it's like I said earlier, it's both forgiving and unforgiving depending on what you're trying to do.
This tiny little ruler. This tiny ruler. It's tiny. It's tiny. So. Who needs it?
Huh? Those are great if you're like on a concept gig and you just have something you want to throw in your, in your bag.
There you go. Just trying to figure out art-wise. You want to throw in, where are you going to throw this?
Well, you could also throw it. I mean, it's almost like a shuriken.
It is. It's tiny though.
It's true.
I see 2 faces in there. Do you have to suppress the urge to see faces to be more creative?
No, well, like I said, it depends. I mean, sometimes I'll see a face, and sometimes I'll just see a shape that leads to a face. Or sometimes what's hard not to, like I said, it's hard not to see this is all bone structure because bone in and of itself is very organic and kind of almost,
in front of you real quick.
you know, has a feel like a lot of the reticulation and the movement, the repeated patterns and things that happens in nature constantly. You know, and so, and especially in anything in decay, it starts to reveal its underlying structure, and it definitely starts to, if that's in your psyche, it tends to do that Rorschach thing where you project it into the patterns.
See what you must see in me.
Yeah? What?
It's that inevitable decay.
Inevitable decay.
Starting to see the structure of me. We've been together 30 years. No. I'm sorry.
But
I must be tired.
you're funny.
I'm trying to be funny. But
you're funny when you're not even trying.
Funny looking. Oh, no, wait, I'm insulting myself. Let's turn this around.
So the thing is that you do have to be careful if you're doing the same kind of exploration. Is, like I said, you'll tend to find your subconscious will tend to find the same kinds of shapes over and over again, and you can get repetitive, and then you have to do things that break you out of that. This technique itself was a way of breaking me out of being repetitive with what I was doing before.
This looks like waves right here. I love this one up there.
It does, and then there's like, I don't know.
Ooh,
it
this
almost
looks like a feather right there.
It changes,
Cool.
And I just like,
and when it's quiet, and when you're working here alone, and you're watching something creepy or listening to something creepy.
Oh yeah.
All of a sudden something will come out, and I'll wake up tomorrow and be like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's that thing where I do watch a lot of horror movies and stuff, and I'm up at night, by myself a lot. And as an artist, I have a really good imagination. So I hear things.
So I wake up and like all the lights are on in the house. I'm like, why are all the lights on in the house all night?
Well, it's not that I was like imagining it. I mean, we literally had rats in our attic that were thumping around every night.
Excuse me, those are our upstairs neighbors, is what we call them. They have been evicted. Yeah. Thank you. Several times. We've had 4 evictions recently. And so.
But if anything runs across the roof at night in my studio, I can hear it just like they're in the room with me practically.
I thought repetition equaled practice, or does experimentation equal practice?
They both do. You get different things depending on what your focus of practice is. Just doing something over and over again can get you sort of the work ethic, the practice of working, but having like a directed practice, like, I'm only going to draw hands, or I'm only going to do these things. It depends on what you're trying to get out of what you do. Exploration in and of itself, you have to practice that in order to go further with it. It's sort of like, I think I might have mentioned this like on the last time we had a feed, but there's not within the whole point of practice is to get to performance, right? So when a pianist practices piano, it's to perform a piece. And so the thing is that you have to keep in mind that all of the practice that you do has to culminate, or should culminate, in an expression of where you stand at that point in a piece, right? Mm-hmm. So the act of trying to perform, not just practice, is also something that has to be practiced. If that doesn't sound convoluted, but
it is. What are your favorite sources for art-related news?
Art-related news? Let's see. I'm online a lot. So I go to Muddy Colors, which I also contribute to. Let's see. I spend a lot of time, obviously, on Pinterest, looking at what's out there. ArtStation I look at quite a bit because it's industry stuff for concept art and games. Mm-hmm. I tend to, I guess I go to I'm on Behance every now and then too. That's less I go there because it seems a little more formal. I don't really have a lot of news in terms of art. It seems like what the news that I get from art comes from the art that I see, and what people are. I just tend to find new people that I like to look at all the time, and it doesn't really matter
right
how old they are or where they live. Is that I find
Maybe
people.
It is the fact that you.
What? I just look a lot.
I'm not sure what art news. You know what I mean? Of like the next, you don't really.
I don't really keep up with like fine art news in terms of the higher brow stuff.
He just does what he's doing mostly.
Yeah.
It's usually me that will find some article and I'll go, whoa, let me read you this.
Not that
What's
it's,
happening here?
not that
Yeah.
it's, there's anything invalid about, wanting to read that stuff. It's just not something that I'm practiced that I just don't do that very often.
It sounds like you're saying that it's important to have a goal when practicing.
I think that there's both. There's times when you just want to sit down and do something, and that's practice too. But I think that if you get to a certain point, that if you don't have a goal with your practice, something specific to refine, then it's sort of like the diminishing returns.
Right. Well, you're making the same pots, right?
Yeah, and making the same
mistakes,
pots will get you to that same pot, but you do definitely at some point say, want to make a vase.
Right.
And so you have to practice that, and that I there was a time when I guess a lot of people had read the 10,000 Hours book,
Yes.
and we were saying, well, you need to, practice something for 10,000 hours before you become a professional.
But not just drawing.
Well, there's a few things about that should be clarified. That if you practice drawing for 10,000 hours, drawing is a very general term.
Right.
You can practice one aspect of drawing, like gesture. You can practice that for 10,000 hours. And you can practice draftsmanship for 10,000 hours.
And how about composition?
And what the whole idea is, though, is to give up the idea that you have to have a finish line that you cross over to become a professional artist.
No.
What you should do is just say, this is always how I'm going to approach it, and I'm always going to be practicing, and I'm always going to be, doing this.
Yes.
And then you don't have to worry about the fact that, it seems like a long way to get to. If you just say,
you never get the end.
but yeah, because if you take away the finish line and say, I'm just going to be happy running, then you actually end up running a lot further.
Oh, that's deep.
So.
I mean, it is really deep.
I mean, well, it's true though. I mean, it seems, in my experience anyway.
Well, that's what worked for you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like.
I stopped being like, okay, so one of the things that led me to this was a writer friend. Remember? We had a writer friend who worked with a partner, and he said his partner liked to have written books, but didn't actually like to write books. They didn't like to sit down and write books, but they liked to be the person that wrote. They liked to go to the panels and liked to be the person that had written a book. And to me, I was like, that's not me. I don't want to be a person who rests on the fact that I've done something. I just like to do it and keep doing it, and that's what
Oh God, I have to do a panel.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean,
No, I'm joking with you.
Being generally an introvert, panels are rough anyway.
Yes.
But the idea that like I'll have relatives who will look at something I've done and go, oh, you must be proud of this, and I'm like, I don't really think about it in a way that is about being proud of it.
Right.
I'm happy with certain passages of something. Things like this area works well to me, or that thing works well. Depending on.
Or you'll go, I like it.
Yeah.
You'll generally like it, and then 3 days later you'll go, I should have done this here.
Yeah.
Or if I keep working and I go, no, don't keep working.
What is that Edna Mode thing? I don't think about the past. It distracts from the now.
Oh God, she's my favorite. I want to be
Mode.
Edna Mode when I grow up.
Yeah. But,
How old were you when it became apparent that you had to be an artist?
when I was young, I used to draw in school a lot, and it wasn't until I actually got into college that it was ever told to me, or it ever occurred to me that you could actually do this for a living. So what I did was I started at a two-year college, and I took one of those creativity tests, and apparently I scored very, very high for the school at that particular moment. So they threw me at the art director. I mean, not the art director, the art teacher.
Mm-hmm. So you didn't know before that?
I didn't know before that there was no. I didn't know that there was such a thing as being an artist for a living. It was one of those things that was never presented to me as an option.
This was pre-internet, so.
And it never occurred to me that people, I saw the drawings, I saw the comic books, but it never occurred to me that, people were doing that for a living.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I was the smartest kid. It just didn't occur to me.
Well,
and then nobody knew really I went to, a small school, and nobody really knew what to do with me and what I did. And so they didn't really know how to advise me other than, go to a college and, take try to, do liberal arts or whatever. Most people were like, you could teach art or whatever. So my first week of college, I'd say actually it happened in the first day, but it's kind of funny to say that I was a business major for one day. And then I talked to the art teacher and switched majors, because as soon as I realized that it was such a thing as being an artist for a living, that's when I started deciding. And I told myself, I remember thinking this, I said, I'm going to do this or I'll die trying. I said that to myself, and then I spent the rest of the time trying to decide, well, am I just going to die trying? you know, but I just didn't really give myself a safety net. I didn't say I'm going to do this and have something to fall back on. I said it's either this or nothing.
Yes. All right. We have about 10 minutes before the end, so I'm going to say I'll visit our website at AllenWilliamsStudio.com, and then you can see this here on our Instagram feed under the stories, and then I will put it on our Patreon, which is at patreon.com/AllenWilliams.
Oh, uh-oh. Hold on. Something's getting after the dog. Hold on, we're having a problem.
Come here. Come here.
What was it? It might have been the possum. There is a possum out
Inside.
there. Sorry, guys. The dog was panicking, and
Come here.
he looks a little nervous. Look, his little hackles are up.
Is he?
See his hackles? Is he out there?
He's coming back.
So that was some excitement. So that's why I have a meat cleaver by my. There's no telling what's in our backyard at any given point. Is he okay?
He is okay.
He's okay. He just.
No, come inside. Anybody inside?
So most likely it was probably a possum or something that was. Yeah, he's okay. He just something chased him and he got upset about it. So look at him. He's still like.
No.
He wants to go back. He wants to go back out there and fight whatever it is. He's like 7 inches tall at the shoulder and thinks he's like 3 feet.
You're okay.
So he's fine.
He's all right.
He's just mad. Well, that sounded weird, didn't it?
Hurt me. No, stay in here.
All right, go.
Oops.
Sorry, guys. That was our drama.
The organic alarms.
Yeah.
Actually.
They say that, although, by the way, about dogs, is that that's the #1 deterrent, whether it's not a weapon, it's not a security system, the #1 deterrent to keep people out of your house is having a dog.
Probably not one that's that tiny.
Well, no, but he makes noise, and
He
people
does
don't
make
like
a lot of noise.
And then I also have my meat cleaver. So
Well, that'll be a deterrent, too. Oh, my God. You're too funny.
people would probably,
He's out there, is he?
if they broke into our house, would probably slowly back away, because there's like dead things everywhere.
Not everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. No, there's just some skeletons. They're in your studio.
There's just a few
It's not
skeletons.
like, well, when you're like, oh, there's dead things. It's not like there's like rats laying around.
There's a rat right there in my box.
I'm not.
You probably shouldn't turn around right now.
Not going to. Thank you
So.
for just busting me. I keep a clean house, thank you.
Well, that doesn't mean it's not clean. See, that's a stereotype. People who keep dead animals laying around the house don't have dirty houses.
Oh my God. I want to visit her.
Huh? So, we're playing there, but
I know we are. I'm joking. It's clean.
I do have some dead things in the freezer, though.
Not the food freezer, in the other freezer.
Sure. Whatever you say.
Oh my God.
But that's actually kind of historically how artists do study a lot of things, is by, they find dead things and just examine them, because, when else do you see the structure of life so much,
My heart's beating now because the dog.
Well, because the dog, yeah. We want to make sure he's okay.
He's okay.
So, he did sound like something was chasing him, though. It's probably the one who lives under the porch over there.
The outside neighbor. We have a possum that lives under the porch. Although we haven't seen her for a while, but maybe she came out and he freaked out.
No, it was Pickman's model.
Oh, that's something creepy. I don't know what that is.
I bet somebody on Instagram knows who Pickman's model was.
Yeah, they all know who Pickman's model is. Of these 40-some people that are here right now, I'm sure someone else will tell me what Pickman's model is.
We'll
That's
see.
a Lovecraft thing, right?
Yep.
Ooh. I don't know. Remember, I haven't read Lovecraft.
He actually wrote a story about an artist who would paint a creature that would come to his studio.
Oh, I'm sure you do that. Escher's desiccated frog. We got a couple of those too.
Yeah. Well, I have a couple. I have actually a rat that's about, I don't know.
You got a good rat.
And then a small mouse that actually is you know.
And then the
cool.
lizard. But the lizard we found when we moved in, it was in your studio. Yeah. We thought he was alive. And
it looked alive, and it was sitting on the shelf. And I walked over to it, and it just never moved.
Nope.
So he's over there on my display thing over there.
I don't know. Vicky would love From Beyond. Oh wait.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
I watched that, haven't I?
Humans are such easy prey. Yeah, it's.
No, I haven't. Is that the
From Beyond? It's yeah, you've seen it. It's the thing that like where they had the machine. Yeah, with the pineal gland. Yeah,
I've seen that.
She did a finger movement like this on her forehead, and I was like, yeah, that's it.
I know. I watch them all, and then sometimes I'll go, "What? Oh my God! You made me watch all of the. What was it? Pumpkinhead.
Pumpkinhead 1, 2, and 3.
Oh God.
They're horrible.
I obviously
they're not that great, but
yeah.
you know, the creature design in some of it was kind of cool.
For you, get you coffee and watch.
This is true.
Do you think logic gets in the way of art?
It can. Some people do very logic-based art, though. I mean, there's a guy that's Stephanie's friend who does the mathematics-based abstraction with.
Yes, the gorgeous pieces.
But yeah, I think it can. It just. I mean, again, it's your nature that you're talking about. It's like
might be how you work.
Yeah. It's such a weird, fluid thing to try to talk about because, you know, it's disingenuous for me to say like this or that doesn't work because as soon as you say something doesn't work that way, someone will show you how it can work that way.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, because someone was asking this. So, and before the dog screeched outside and made me have a little bit of a heart attack. Wait, I'm going back up here to see. It's way up here. Oh, this is a very broad question that probably cannot be answered in the next 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any tips for turning your art into a living? We have many tips for turning his art, but it depends on what your art is.
Right. The only tip I would say is that you have to really look hard at what you do and see where it fits. That's the closest thing to a short tip I could give you right now because we all do such different things. Even if you're handling, you know, we're even handling the pencil in some of the same ways. We're doing such different, if you want to call it a product, we're doing such different products that you sort of have to develop a strategy for everybody individually. There's some things that might generally work, but even those things, you know, you might have the same kind of work as somebody sitting next to you, but it's just different enough that it doesn't appeal to the same people.
Yes. And no, I don't think his personality is logical at all.
No, I'm not really. No, I'm very much an emotion-based person, but I'm very calm in terms of how I present it. Normally, I don't really get angry very often or get unemotional. Get emotionally, you know, out there. But to the other question I was going to say was that, you know, part of the deal of doing, I guess, this is if you're going to do it for a living. Not that you have to do art for a living to have fun doing art, but if you're going to do it for a living, you have to sort of almost have to create your own marketing based on what you do. And also be aware that no matter what it is, no matter how successful it is, it usually doesn't last forever, even if you come up with a really good idea about how to get your work out there. Because like, you know, we've noticed this at shows before in the past. If you do something at a show that tends to work out really well, next year, you won't be the only one doing it, and then 3 years from now, it'll be something everybody did.
Yes.
You know, and then you have to come up with a new thing, which that's kind of, that's a trap in a lot of ways too. But as a business, you sort of always have to be kind of looking for different ways to show your work to the people who want to get it. Mm-hmm. You know, and to find them. You know, because a lot of times it's all about finding the right group of people.
Yes. You will have to, we're almost done here. It's going to click on here and say we have 30 seconds pretty soon.
Oh, see, we thought it was going to be short, but we did an hour.
We did do an hour. I like that part at the top.
So this all started, this whole page started, this board started pretty much like this when I began. And so I just started picking at these details until it comes out.
Was it that smooth? There's not very many.
There was a little more texture in this one than that one.
Okay.
But I left it, I left them be different, you know, on purpose so that this one would generate different shapes when I get to it.
All right. Well, we have 40 seconds here, so sorry about the
dog interruption.
The dog interruption.
Well, that's okay, as long as he's okay and you're okay.
Fine. All right. You guys have a good time, and hopefully we will see you next week. If not, it'll be the week after. Yep. And look for us online.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.